Hello and welcome back to another episode of Vikings Happy Hour, sponsored by Lake Monster Brewing, Eastside Jiu-Jitsu, and that's Badass Wood Art. Miles, we finally freaking did it. It's week 4, but the Vikings somehow gritted out a way to a 21-13 victory over the lowly Carolina Panthers. And there's a lot to get to, I think. I mean, you'll take the win. You'll feel comfortable about that. I know Kevin O'Connell had a huge post-game speech to the team, like, they can come back still from this, 1-3 deficit, and maybe they can. Maybe they can. But what we saw yesterday isn't gonna cut it versus the
No, not
Chiefs.
at all.
It's not gonna cut it. But let's what are your initial thoughts from the game, and then we can kind of navigate the rest of the show from there. Also,
Well,
good morning.
good morning. You talked about just like coming out of the 1-3 hole, but I also think the big part of that is like they're very lucky that they played the Carolina Panthers this week. And I
Absolutely.
don't like to use the word luck too often because we talk about the unlucky stuff that's happened for them, blah blah blah. But like they were just better than a really bad football team on Sunday because it just feels like all they're doing the last 2 years even is just playing to the level of the competition. They just happen to be a little bit better than the competition yesterday. So they were able
Yeah.
to like overcome some of the like without a DJ Wanham, like the Harrison Smith strip sack and DJ Wanham running that back. Who knows where this game is, right? Like I think that's the frustrating part. It's like, yes, they won, so I don't want to like be like, oh, it's all doom and gloom, blah, blah, blah. But like just the way the game went yesterday, you would have hoped at 0-3, the sense of urgency would have just been there a little bit more than what we saw.
Yeah.
And like the lack of mistakes just like continued. And you were hoping again, sense of urgency against a bad team. Maybe we could come back and we can just like put it all together for this game because this team is not a good football team, and they're not, as we saw yesterday. But the Vikings decided we're gonna make it a little harder on ourselves. We're gonna, it can't ever just be easy with this team.
Did you see that 4th and 1 where the Panthers were driving at the end? The Vikings only had 10 guys on the
I
field.
did. I saw. Oh, was it Luke Bronson put some out on Twitter? I think
Yeah.
it's just like, man, like, and again, the game come down to the very end, and like needing to make a play or like not make. Like they're fortunate. Like Bryce Young was playing yesterday because like maybe even if Andy Dalton's playing because he
It's a
knows how to
different
make
game.
quicker decisions, make more like decisive decisions. I think Bryce Young's still figuring it out. But you saw some of the glimpses from him yesterday of like why he was the first overall pick. I mean, you saw the movement in the pocket. I think he's got a really good accurate arm. And there's just growing pains that are going to come. And I think the Vikings caught him at the right time. Like maybe if you catch him in week 10, 11, it's a different game, but you catch him in week 4 where he's coming off an injury. Like I think they're fortunate for that. But yeah, like overall, I think the defense played well. I mean,
Yeah, let's
kind of
talk about the defense more because, I mean, in reality, they really only let up
6,
6
7.
points.
Yeah, because they didn't score an offensive touchdown, right?
Yeah.
Am I
Yep.
right on that? Yeah.
Yeah. They didn't score an offensive touchdown. So really, I mean, the defense kind of played well, and I think they kind of found their groove, obviously led by Harrison Smith, who had
Yeah.
14 tackles,
He
3
was
sacks, and a
everywhere
forced
yesterday.
fumble.
Yeah.
Um, it is surprising to see him still play to this level how many years later. I mean, his
Yeah.
draft class was 2012, so he's been doing this for well over 10 years here. But yeah, I think the defense played well, but I think the same issue that we're talking about week in and week out is these players are flashing, but nothing is consistent. Like
Mhm.
I think the 4th quarter was the most consistent we've seen that defense play um, in its entirety. Like they just seem to own the Panthers, but I don't know how much
The
we can
Panthers were
take from
still
that
able to
because it's the
drive, right?
Panthers.
Right. And
Sure.
they're still able to get down the field. And like, yes, so you not giving up points is the huge part there. Like, and so like I'm not ever like I think within the 20s, if you can keep teams within the 20s, like it's usually a pretty successful day. Like and
Yep.
not give up any big plays. And I think the Vikings did that yesterday. But they still let them drive down the field a little bit. They finally did better against the run, like overall. Like there were some glimpses, especially early in the game. I was like, are the Panthers really going to kind of bully our defense a little bit on the ground? And the Vikings kind of stiffened that up, which was good.
Yeah.
I'd still like to see, like, I think Byron Murphy. I want to see grades come out. And I know he's coming off an injury. and a little banged up, but like letting Adam Thielen go for what was it? I'd have to go look the exact
I got
touchdown.
it for you. I got it for
Yeah,
you here.
yeah, pull those up
He
real
went
quick.
he had 7 receptions for 76 yards, and he also sat out for the majority
Yeah,
of,
he
like,
had like an
a
ankle.
quarter.
Looks like he had an ankle injury, but like literally at that was like what yesterday reminded me of the Adam Thielen of like the Minnesota Vikings last few years of like
Yeah, if he'd have played like that, we'd have kept him around.
right, right. Well, I don't know about that. Like I think the fact that they just don't have anybody else to get open. But like another part of that too is just like no offense to Adam Thielen, but Byron Murphy shouldn't like this defense shouldn't be getting. And I know it was only 7 for 76, but like he still moved the chains. He still made some plays to like keep their drives alive. Some of those plays just shouldn't be happening. And I think like we just need to figure out like how to stiffen that up a little bit and how to like be more correct
Yeah,
because you're going to play way better competition moving forward. And like it was nice. It was actually didn't feel as weird to me to see Adam Thielen in with the Panthers, and I'm sure some people, but yeah, I don't know. I just felt like Byron Murphy was kind of like I feel like the last couple of weeks has just been a little bit of a struggle for him, and you'd
yeah.
like to see that like kind of get corrected. That's more of what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, and it might be what you said earlier, just that injury, trying to feel comfortable playing with that hip injury that he has, and Gok
Yeah,
can,
and hips for DBs is huge. Obviously, like you got a
yeah.
lot. That's where the movement comes from. That's where explosion and power comes from.
What are your thoughts on, kind of a Caleb Evans performance yesterday? Obviously, the crucial PI early in the game, which to me was a little suspect, but
It was ticky tack.
yeah, but yeah, Caleb Evans, any thoughts on him or anybody else on the defensive side of the ball before we transition to offense?
Yeah, I mean, I think that Caleb Evans just continuing to get more and more comfortable, which is good. Like that's what you want to
Yeah,
see. Again, the competition wasn't anything where, like, but it's still good, valuable reps for him. And I think that's it's confidence, and I think it's just being understanding the defense and where everybody's supposed to be. I thought
mhm,
he played. I thought he played pretty well. I thought that call was a little ticky tack, because he's technically supposed to be able to hold his ground. Like
yeah.
in that play, the receiver basically ran into him, but like you're allowed your ground. Like the defenders are allowed to
I
like
wanted to ask you that because,
yeah.
like,
So
can
yeah, go ahead.
receivers just run right into the DB like that?
Well, so the like just like a receiver, you're allowed to like have your like the only thing defenses have is their space and like their ground. You're allowed to hold your ground. The receiver is supposed to run around that or try to avoid that. Now it'd be different, and that's only if the receiver's initiating the contact. Now if the cornerback is like literally trying to catch him, that's a
Yeah,
different. But like you're allowed to like sit in your like space, like that's your space, and like
yeah,
hold your ground as long as you're not trying to initiate contact off the
okay,
past the 5 yards, obviously. And I thought of Caleb Evans was trying to hold his ground. Now I think he misread what the route was,
yeah,
um, and maybe that's why it was called a little bit. But I still don't think he should have been called for illegal contact because he's allowed to hold his ground there, and the receiver's supposed to try to avoid that contact if the DB isn't initiating it. So that's where I wasn't a big fan of that call, but I mean, it happens. It's a good teachable moment for I think Evans too. Um,
yeah, in general, I
but
think
yeah,
he's played
yeah,
really really
I,
well
I
this
thought he played.
season, and
Yeah, same. And then you hit on Harrison Smith. That dude was everywhere. I think we saw vintage Harrison Smith yesterday. Like we saw
mhm,
like 2019, like 2017, like literally the best safety in the league. Like Harrison Smith, we saw him
yeah,
being one of the best like in the box safeties um in the last like decade. Like
yeah,
that's the type of player Harrison Smith has been in his career. But like we saw that yesterday. That's how good he was yesterday, and how they utilize him. And I love that because I think Brian Flores went into the yesterday's game saying it's a rookie quarterback. Let's go get him, and
yeah,
like let's make him beat us.
right.
And they said, look, we're going to use Harrison Smith to bully him essentially, and it worked
It
because
did.
Harrison Smith had a game, and so he had the strip sack that turned into the touchdown by DJ Wanham, which was huge. Like I think that was literally like the biggest swing of the game
Yeah,
because at that point the Vikings offense wasn't moving. They're down 6. They needed something to like get a catalyst to move. And I'm glad the defense scored because I wouldn't have been confident that the offense would have gone out and scored a touchdown. I really wasn't. Like I wouldn't have been. So like they needed that in the worst way. And then to have Harrison be the guy to like the catalyst of it, I think is just cherry on
yeah.
top.
Let's we can't switch to the offense without talking about
I was,
Marcus Davenport though.
that was gonna be the next guy. Yeah, yeah. You got to,
Who,
right? Because the amount of hate that man got
yeah,
over not just the last 4 weeks, but especially this last week. I think this last week
yes,
it was really like boiled up.
yeah.
Like
When
you
that
would have
clip
thought,
of him in the locker room came out, people are just like they just targeted in on him. They're like, we hate this guy, and he showed up, man.
yeah. Well, you would have thought that man was stealing money from the Vikings, like literally, and like guys, like I think folks got to realize, like, not like you can't control injuries. Like that guy didn't try to get hurt. He got hurt during what was it, the Friday practice before the first game, the
Yeah,
ankle injury. Like he didn't try to do that.
yeah.
I don't know the behind the scenes stuff, but like you kind of got to let guys like come back and deal with that stuff like that. Like he tried to gut it
Well,
out
it's a
against the
long
Eagles.
season.
It's a long season. Ankle injuries are like I don't think people realize like what ankle injuries are. Like that's mobility, that's flexibility for a guy that has to move side to side, laterally, like a lot of those things and be explosive off the line of scrimmage, defend
Yeah,
against the run, go get the quarterback. Like there's a lot of things that an edge rusher is supposed to do and be responsible for. But you're right. He came in and he had that immediate impact that I think we all were hoping to see.
yep,
And it wasn't just like, oh, he had a nice play here, nice play there. It was pretty consistent across the board against the run. He got after the quarterback, created pressures. That Panthers left guard, that poor guy, like that guy is just. I think it was like 14 pressures they gave up last week. I don't know what it was this year, what it was this week, but I saw the spin move Marcus Davenport put on him one of the plays, and I'm like, that kid, that poor kid, like sit him down, like kind of like probably how Panthers fans are feeling about him, maybe how Vikings fans feel about Ed Ingram, but like Marcus Davenport had an impact. Like you saw why the Vikings went out and gave him was it like $13 million,
yeah.
whatever the money was.
Because when he's healthy,
When he's healthy, that guy's an impact. He makes an impact.
yeah,
And he now has more sacks this year than he did last year, and he's only played in like truly one full game. But like the pressures he created, he was all over the field. It wasn't like I'd have to go look at the numbers for Daniil, but like Daniil didn't really like. I don't think Daniil had the biggest impact. Like, and maybe
yeah. He
maybe
had a
that's
tackle for
also
loss and 4 tackles
right.
total.
And that's like the attention and like so. This is what's important about having two good edge rushers, or at least two good pass rushers, is if all the attention is going to be given to Daniel Hunter, Davenport was probably coming in yesterday getting one-on-one attention because you have Daniel Hunter on the other side, and he took advantage of it. And I think that's a super important part. Hunter's not always going to be able to guy to carry you all the time. You have to have another guy to be able to come in and adjust there too. And I think Davenport did that. With exactly what you're hoping he would do. So I
Yeah,
thought it was impressive for him. Hopefully he's still healthy, like going in, like coming out of yesterday's game. Hopefully he can like use this as kind of like a jumping off point for the rest of the season.
we'll talk about it obviously more on Wednesday's show, but having him healthy and seeing the Chiefs go against the Jets last night, they look beatable.
Yeah.
Um, and
Juwan
so
Taylor looks beatable for sure.
having two, edge rushers of that
Yeah.
caliber, maybe they can make an impact there. Let's switch to the offensive side of the ball here. Um, man, this part of this side of the football was concerning to me,
Very.
and the reason that it's concerning is not so much like I actually thought the run game was great. I thought Madison looked good. I thought Akers looked really good too. I think they should give him
Yeah.
some more touches heading into next week. I think the stat line for Madison here, let me just pull it up. 17 carries for 95 yards, and Akers was 5 for 40. So, um,
And he had a couple catches too.
yeah, yeah. So I think that was fine. What's starting to bother me though is we have these other weapons on the field. We have T.J. Hawkinson, we have Jordan Addison, we have K.J. Osborne, and are they just not getting open? Because Kirk is literally seems to be only targeting Justin Jefferson, and I get it. Justin Jefferson's the best football in the entire league,
Best football
or,
player.
or, or
Yeah.
best football player in the entire league. And so, I guess my concern just comes with what's going on with the offense. Like, do you have any inclination of kind of what's going on? Is it Kirk? Is it Kevin O'Connell's play calling? I feel like we're talking about this week in and week out here.
Well, that first drive, they drove down the field. They got into the red zone. But the red zone has been the Achilles heel of this offense this year. Besides the 3 and outs, like the red zone, like the turnovers in the red zone. I think
Mhm.
that pick six really put what's the word, like kind of put the fear in Kirk and kind of got him in that like conservative mode where he was seeing ghosts out there because he didn't want to repeat that negative performance because that he knows that throw was not a good that was a bad decision. And I think you tweeted out the picture of it, and I think I responded in the tweet. It was basically like, if you make that throw in the red zone, that it has to be now or not. Like you can't be late or indecisive on that type of play because you run in just a little out route for speed out for KJ Osborne there, and you either have to throw that ball right away because the field's so condensed. Players have the ability to drive upfield more than they would in the open field because they don't have to worry about people behind them.
Yeah.
And so when you're on the 1 yard line like that, you can't make those split second decisions literally can be the difference between a turnover going back for 6 or a touchdown. And the second Kirk decided not to throw that right away, he should have reloaded and tried to find something else. And
or just be smart and throw it out of the end zone. You're on the road.
Sure.
Just take your points and let's move on. Let's live to see another day.
So I'm not sure what he saw there or like what the situation was, but you could tell the second he threw it, it was like, oh shit, right? Like
and then he got launched on the
then he got launched, which I'm not like I'm all for trying to chase down a guy, but if you get to a point where like just be careful there, right? Like
they want to put a free hit on you.
Yeah, it's a free and any defense is gonna want to go get the quarterback. Like I think it was the Chargers game I watched after the fact. Justin Herbert threw a pick. And he went, and you just saw them go try to tee off. Like that's just what defenses want to do because if they get an opportunity, they want to hit the quarterback.
Yeah.
And but going back to that play, it's just like that really felt like it set the tone for the rest of Kirk's day.
Yeah.
And I think after that, he said, "I'm only going to throw to Justin Jefferson or anybody that's wide open. And if it's not open, I'm not throwing it." And you could see that all game because he was super indecisive. He was late. He was just not making the like crisp decisions that we're used to seeing Kirk make in the offense.
Just a garbage stat line too. I mean, 12 of 19, 139 yards, 2 touchdowns, 2 picks. So
I think I heard someone say if that free play to JJ, like if that wasn't, I don't think Kirk would have thrown that if that wasn't a free play.
Right.
Like I don't. And like that's just the kind of day he was having yesterday where he didn't want to take chances because he was so focused on that pick 6 that he threw, and it kind of just put a tailspin on the rest of the game for him.
Mm-hmm.
Now, again, I still believe like they're lucky. Like they won the game, so like they won. So like what Kirk needs to do is like internalize that and then just move on. But my worry is, can he do that? Because we've seen like times throughout his Vikings career, he'll have a stretch like this where he'll kind of get like he'll make a mistake and get really conservative and like kind of like go into a shell a little bit and be risk adverse. And that kind of Kirk Cousins is not the quarterback that like this offense needs because this offense needs their quarterback to step up and be the guy and make plays because the run game isn't always going to be there, you know, and you have the best receiver in the game. You have a really good core, receiving core. And so like you just need Kirk to like kind of move past this. And I hope he does. But that kind of snowballed the effect like the rest of the game because you had no catches by Jordan Addison. He had a big like PI play, I think, down the field, but which was a bad underthrow, by the way. Like I know people bitch and complain. I'm getting on a rant here, but people bitch and complain about the underthrown PI. But like that literally was that play because Addison was open.
Yeah.
And Kirk just threw
he was also late on the throw too.
He was late on the throw, but he also threw a pop-up, like a pop fly. Like, and I didn't understand.
It's going to be addressed this offseason. There's no way that the NFL allows that to continue because teams are they're abusing it at this point.
But like they can't blame the quarterback for underthrowing a ball. Like there's kind of like a middle ground. Like if the quarterback underthrows the ball, the receiver still has to have an opportunity to go get it. Like
sure.
I'm with you. Like it's just like, how do you fix it?
Just don't make it a spot foul.
That's fair. I think that's a fair point.
Like you can underthrow it and it can be PI, but just do like 10 yards and a first down or something like that.
15 yards. Yeah, that's fair. I got you. But yeah, I like, but then Jordan Addison later in the game like gets JJ blown up on a quick screen.
That was like, so dumb.
It was bad. Like it wasn't even. He didn't even get a hand on the guy. Like I think those are, and that's part of like Jordan Addison being a rookie and not like. I think it'll come with reps because it's not just like a. I don't think it was like a. Oh, I'm just gonna let this guy go through.
Yeah.
I just think sometimes in college he's probably so used to like being able to catch a guy in those quick screen blocking scenarios, but in the NFL, like you have to be the aggressor. If you're not the
Hmm.
aggressor, that type of stuff's going to happen if you're not the aggressor at blocking. And so, I don't think it's just because of his size, and I think people are going to talk about his size there. But if he just goes and attacks that guy, he at least gets in the way long enough for JJ to like catch the ball and make a move. But
Yeah.
if you're not going to be the aggressor, like you're going to get attacked like that. So that would be my teach point for Addison there more than like, oh well, he's not big, so it should be no. Like just go be the aggressor, dude. Like go attack the DB because you have to.
Yeah.
Otherwise they're not going to let you get away with it in the league. So there's that. And then I just thought the offense in general, like the run game, like you said, was pretty good. I liked how they sprinkled in Cam Akers. Um, the interior offensive line continues to kind of be a little bit of a struggle.
Yeah. I
And
believe
should we get
Reisner will
into
start next week.
should we? Well, we said that last week. Like, should we get into that real quick? Like,
Yeah, we got a
so
couple minutes.
all week the Vikings talked about Dalton Reisner. Like, they're going to make a change. Dalton Reisner apparently was in practice playing both left guard and right guard. And then we go into Sunday, and it's the same offensive line. Okay, I thought, okay, maybe they're going to let those guys start, and if there's a little bit of trouble, Reisner will come in. Blah blah blah. And that didn't happen. Even after some of the struggles, Reisner still didn't play. Didn't get a rep. I thought there was gonna be a little bit more of like a rotation. Like Ed Ingram might get a couple drives, then you get Reisner in there for maybe a drive or two, just to like get his feet wet. Um, nope.
Didn't happen.
So I didn't listen to KOC's press conference. I don't know if he was asked the question or not. I would
I
assume
didn't
he
listen
was,
to it either yet.
but it's just one of those things that I'm sure it'll get addressed this week in the media. Like why? Just because Ingram continues to struggle, but overall, like I thought the offense can't. I don't even know how to explain it. Like that passing game just can't be what it was yesterday against anybody else. Otherwise, you're just not winning football games.
Yeah, I mean, it starts and ends with Kirk Cousins at the end of the day.
It
Every,
does.
every game we go into, it will start and end with him. And when he becomes conservative, like he did yesterday, that's kind of how that'll dictate, the game essentially. And we will be relying on our defense to make plays like they did in order to kind of stay in those things. And so
And we know we can't
whatever.
rely on this defense to make those plays all the time. Like we
Yeah,
can't.
not consistently, no.
No.
Yesterday was more of a surprise than an,
Hmm.
expectation. So, I would say that, as we head into next week, and we'll dive more into the Chiefs-Vikings game later this week on our live show, but Kirk has to come out and be that quarterback that we saw, just almost like a gunslinger. You got a plethora of weapons on the field. Be smart with your decision making, because at the tail end of that Chargers game and then into Sunday's game against the Panthers this week, it just almost looked like Kirk was playing in his first few NFL games. He just didn't quite look the part. And so I don't know if something's going on or if it's just a mentality thing, but they have the win under their belt. They can kind of take a deep breath as they head in and evaluate film. But the win is obviously the most important thing. But there's a lot of things to fix. And if you want to get this season on the right track, it starts again this week against
Yeah.
against the Kansas City Chiefs. So
Who come to town
overall, yeah,
and
thank God
that
they're coming to town.
yeah, that's big. But I like you can't put up a game like you did yesterday, especially on offense against that team because that team
Yeah,
they'll drop 40 on your head like it's
instantly.
nothing. Like instant yeah, like they won't even think twice about it. And they're going to I think the Chiefs are
Oh,
going to
do
come
they
in being
have the
pissed off.
over under on that already? Keep
Maybe
going.
maybe the initial, but that KC team is probably going to come in pissed off after how they played last night against the Jets. And the Jets team has a good defense. Like
Yeah.
I know Aaron Rodgers is hurt. Zach Wilson actually played pretty decent, probably one of his better games of his career. But like overall, I'm sure they're going to be pissed off because they didn't do the things that they typically would do against a middling team like the Jets because of the Aaron Rodgers situation. So I'm sure they're going to come in like ready to drop 40 on us. And yeah,
The Kansas City's right now is as of Monday morning, they're favored by 5.5. And the
How.
over-under is 52.5 right now. So
Okay. Well,
we'll
I'm sure like the initial injury reports on Wednesday will dictate a little bit. Well, might shift that a little bit more too.
the biggest guy that we need back, I think, next week is Bradbury, especially with Chris Jones coming to town. I think we need to bolster that interior offensive line any way we can. So, but yeah,
Bro, Ed Ingram's gonna get bullied. Like if he's playing, like, but again, that's why I thought this game would like against Derek Brown. It was a good opportunity to get Reisner some snaps,
yeah,
and they didn't. Like, not even. I was all for like a rotation, like not an every play rotation like you do receivers and DBs or like linemen, D linemen, but like you could have rotated Reisner in for some snaps and drives in some series just to get his feet wet, but you didn't, and now you're kind of like hoping he might have to come in cold. I just don't know what the plan is there, and so I'm not sure what the plan is there, but we'll figure it out as the week goes.
Yeah. Before we close the show, though, I wish I had like I used to have like a clapping sound. Maybe I'll just do the classic. Because the Vikings successfully pulled off a tight end screen yesterday.
Oh, yeah.
They had to do two tries at it
Yeah.
because they got the ineligible man downfield, which the NFL was keying in on yesterday. But they did finally get a tight end screen to work, and it looked good. So we'll see if they continue to do that. As I know that's a good kind of like attack against some pressure. So, but yes, the Vikings 1-3 next week take on the Kansas City Chiefs. Anything else from you this morning, Miles?
We at Lake Monster this week?
TBD. I would be planning for it. Yes. So if you're watching, look on our socials for an announcement. I believe we'll be at Lake Monster live this week at 7:00. So come out, have
on
some
Wednesday.
beers.
On Wednesday.
Wednesday night.
Know. Like if that's we'll let you know for sure. But like the plan, the initial plan is Wednesday at 7 p.m. at Lake Monster. I owe people drinks, so if you want to come through, I got your first round. The first 5 people, I got your first round.
Damn. All right. That's live Wednesday night at Lake Monster, pending an announcement. So just stay tuned for that. If you're still here watching, thank you so much. Throw some comments in below here and let us know what you're thinking from Sunday's game over the Panthers. We love hearing from you, and don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button. Until next time, everybody, Skol Vikings.